Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed Shlita. Well, we hope everyone had a great Shabbos wherever you are. A nice snowy weekend here in the northeastern United States, and many who are away for the Yeshiva Week vacation. I hope that you're in warmer climates, or some choose colder climates, if that's your thing. But certainly this would be a good week to be away, but we are never away from our learning. As long as I am here, snow or not, we ask you to please continue davening for Chayalei Tzva Haganah Yisrael, for Shleim L'Chol P'tzui Yisrael, return of Ran Gavili L'Kvuras Yisrael, and we learn each day L'Ilei Nishmat Saren Daniel Shimon Ben Harav Daron V'Shel Yishem Kem Demo. So the next chapter, Hanagas Hashomim. Yedaktek Hashomei La'anos Amein Al Kol Bracha Bracha M'Berachas Hashatz. So anyone who's listening to Chazarat Hashatz has to be careful to answer to each bracha and say Amein. V'Amar Chachamim Gadol Ha'ona Amein Yosem Min HaBavarach. Gemara in Brachas and Daf Nod Gimel Amud Beis tells us that the person who answers Amen is greater than the one who makes the blessing. Ya'ane Amen b'malo koved rosh v'yichavim ba'miras Amen. The person has to answer Amen with a bit of humility. We talked about koved rosh when it comes to davening, about having one's head down. You have to have kavana. She'emas haya mash amar mavarach. Amen is affirming and saying it's truth, whatever the blessing was made, that you say this is the truth. So for instance, im shama bracha shahakol niyeh b'dvaro. If you hear the bracha of shahakol, someone makes a bracha on a drink, shahakol niyeh b'dvaro yichavein, emes haya shahakol niyeh b'dvaro. It's truth, yes, that everything is with Hashem's word. Ksheyesh b'bracha gam b'kasha, kamo b'brachas chonen hadas, yichaven l'shtei mashmios. So if there's a bracha that has also in it a request, like chonen hadas, which we ask for seichel and knowledge, so you have to have two things in mind. One, emes hi shadeh mimenu. One, of course, that is truth, that knowledge comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And two, halavai v'yichon osano b'deya. And that Hashem should indeed, our hope is, give us with this knowledge that we need. Lo yachtof es amen. A person shouldn't cut short his amen. Lo omrav v'nei shechazan siyam es habracha. You shouldn't say it before the chazan finishes the bracha. V'li ktones amen. Lo havli osi osel. Lo haftir b'safara v'kol rachash. You shouldn't have a katan. In the 7th parak of Brachos, it discusses all these different types of amens, and you shouldn't swallow the letters, or to say it quietly, or to say it without a voice. And you shouldn't say the amen too much after the conclusion of the bracha. This is called an orphaned amen. The expression of amen expresses our connection of human beings to faith in Hashem, and then when the faith is lacking something, so the life that is flowing down from heaven towards us is also lacking. The Omar ben Azai, so Ben Azai says, this again, it's the Gemara in the 7th Parak of Brachos on Daf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, if you have an orphan amen, Chalila, your children will be orphans. Chatufa yachtifu yamav. And if a person cuts short his amen, your days will be cut short. And if it's silent, your days will be silent, etc., etc. But if someone lengthens his amen, then you'll have long days and long years. One should answer amen with a nice voice. And your amen should not be louder than the person who's making the bracha, or the chazan. And you shouldn't shorten your amen answering. It should lengthen it a little bit. Because amen stands for, it's an abbreviation of kel melech ne'eman. As long as you should say, in other words, saying amen versus amen. And you shouldn't schlep it out either. Amen. Yeah, a little musical interlude for you. And if, let's say you're saying Chazarat Hashatz and you're the chazan, and people schlep out the amen, you're not required to wait for them to finish till you begin the next bracha. And as soon as the majority of the congregation finish saying amen, even if there's one schlepper, then you could start the next bracha. But let's say the chazan has to say the bracha, and no one else is saying the bracha, and they are fully being guilty with that bracha. So, for instance, blowing shofar. So before you can sound the shofar, you have to wait till everyone finishes amen, because you're saying the bracha for them. Because then this way the people who are schlepping out the amen, even though it's not right, but they can hear the next brach or whatever comes next. So it comes from the period of the Rishonim that when we hear Hashem's name, we say the words Baruch Hu V'Ruch Shemo, blessed He is His name. Then Yispashet Min Hagam Yisrael, and this has become a widespread custom in Klal Yisrael. So Baruch Hu V'Ruch Shemo becomes Baruch Hu Shemo, Shmo, Shmai. So we kind of shorten that as well. That's a whole other question. And this is when you hear bracha that you're not being yotze. In other words, not that someone is saying the bracha for you. Like Chazarat Hashatz, L'misha Mispala B'lachash. When they say Chazarat Hashatz, someone who's davening quietly, but if there's a bracha in which you are being yotze with the chazan as well, or the person saying the bracha, ki brachas haKiddush T'kiya shofar, like Kiddush, someone's making Kiddush for you, or saying Baruch of Shofar, we always say out loud, no against Shlo Lanos Baruch of Shemo. We say don't answer Baruch of Shemo, Kadesh Shlo Lahafsik Be'emtza HaBracha Ba'mir Stava Shlo Tiknu Chachamim, because this is considered a hefsik. Chazal didn't institute this; it's a custom that arose later on. So therefore, if someone is saying a bracha for you, so somebody's saying Kiddush for you, when they say Baruch Priyagaf, and you don't say Baruch of Shemo. If you did say Baruch Hu V'Ruch Shemo in any event, even though the person is saying the bracha for you, you're still yotze. Because you are not making a real hefsek, you still have your mind on the bracha and the mitzvah that someone is trying to do for you, but it's always best not to say Baruch Hu V'Ruch Shemo if someone is saying a bracha on your behalf. Tov lahader la'amod b'chazaras hashatz. It's best to really stand when Chazarat Hashatz is being recited. Because those who are listening to Chazarat Hashatz, even though they're not being yotze with the repetition, but nevertheless they're considered partners in some way in this repetition. And then they have some sort of level of saying an additional tefillah. Therefore, just like if you were saying it silently, or the person is saying it on your behalf, even though you're not being yotze, but it's like you're saying it, so one should stand. This is not considered an obligation, and certainly one who wants to sit down can, and it's probably how most people do, is they sit for Chazarat Hashatz. Also, if it's going to prevent you from, let's say, wandering around and schmoozing or whatever it might be, obviously, better to sit down and to concentrate. And I'll just add in that for those who daven for the Amid, there is nothing that is more disheartening than davening for the Amid when people don't answer Amen. They're busy doing other things, and you're kind of tapping on the mic saying, is this thing on? Because it's very important to have Chazarat Hashatz, to also have people answering Amen to the brachos. Well, we thank you for joining us again for another week of learning. Please continue davening for Chalei Tzvagan Yisrael, for Shlem L'Chol P'tzvei Yisrael, return of Ran Gvil L'Kvuras Yisrael, Only Nishmat Sarah Daniel Shimon Arav Durham V'Shalei Shem Damo. Thank you so much for joining us again with our learning. Have a great day. We'll see you next time, and a good Chodesh to all.